real business owners.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Real Business Owners. This is basically Trevor and Kale. This is our show, also known as Kale. I don't know. We have a lot of names around here, right?
Yeah.
We're excited to start and launch our first episode of Real Business Owners. Trev has been managing the Real Business Owners Instagram page, and he's putting a lot of great quality content out there. And the next natural step was to launch the podcast and just try and bring more quality content to our viewers and hopefully our large amount of listeners.
Yeah.
Right? We want to bring a lot of value there.
Yeah.
So.
The idea here is to basically just bring value to you guys, bring you guys content that is relevant, is real, is something that could be useful to a small business owner. I think that a lot of large Instagram influencers are only interviewing people that are uber successful, and a lot of small businesses I don't think can relate to people doing $100 to $200 million a year in revenue. And so I'm trying to bring practical content and advice to the small business owners that they could actually apply into their business today. And that's our goal, is just to give you guys more of a back-end look at how we operate our companies and some of the things that we're doing that's working for us, that again, that you can just turn around and apply into your business. And so today's, the first episode, and what I thought would be the best thing to do is just for you guys to understand who we are as individuals behind the businesses and the Instagram and the podcast, before we really start jumping into, the actual business side of stuff. So I'll let Kale jump in and tell you just a little bit of his background, the way that he grew up, and, how he ultimately got into an ownership type role, just basically from childhood to today, just kind of giving a quick 5-minute glimpse of 35 years. 36 years?
36, man. 36, yeah. So, we're close.
Yeah.
You're 35, right?
In a couple months.
Yeah, a couple months. So first of all, we call it Real Business Owners for a reason. Obviously, we feel like we are real business owners. We feel like there's a lot of real business owners out there that have a story to be told that we can all learn from. And so we're excited, man. We're going to bring a lot of great guests in here, of people that we know, guys we do business with. Some of them you might know, some of them you might never heard of, but then, but they've all done great things. And so, my childhood was, it was an interesting one. Like we definitely grew up on the lower end of middle class, like I'm not going to sit here and act like we just had it so bad, because I know there's people out there that, still to this day, so much worse, I've had to have that talk with my siblings. Sometimes they think they're more of a victim than they were, right? We had a rough upbringing, man, like money problems in the home. That's all our parents fought about was money. We had a lot of good ass whoopings, but I'm grateful for those, right?
Yeah, they serve their purpose sometimes,
Yeah, but one of the biggest memories I have, and even talked about it on stage last week at that little event, was the reason that I ended up in the field that I'm ended up in. And I didn't know it was the reason until now, but, we grew up with IRS issues in the home, man. We had bank accounts levied, paychecks garnished. My mom went to work because my dad, all of his assets were seized, his bank accounts were levied, the IRS took everything from him. So she went and got a job. Not even 2 months into her job, they ended up garnishing her paychecks. And so the money problems got worse and worse because it was being taken from them, and there was just constant fighting and battling. And I remember as a kid literally thinking, now as a teenager, because this happened for most of my upbringing, and I remember as a teenager literally having thoughts of like, why would anybody want to be a business owner? Like, this just seems miserable, right?
I still have that thought sometimes.
Right?
Depending on which day you ask.
Yeah. But that was a shitty thing, because I was one of those entrepreneurial kids, just like you are. We've had these talks, man. Like, we sold golf balls to golfers. I used to walk down to the Mercantile in our little town and buy penny candies when they were really a penny.
Yeah.
And I put 10 of them in a bag and sell them at school for $1. Literally 10 times in my money, right? That's just the kind of kid I was.
Just a hustler's a hustler.
Exactly. And so So that was kind of disappointing as I got older, thinking, man, business owners, being a business owner sucks. I mean, the IRS basically can do whatever they want. But I found out later, I mean, that was obviously my dad's fault, man. He was unorganized. He was a procrastinator. He had a lot of great things about him, and he's a hard worker. I learned that from him. And, he was a contractor, and he worked with his hands. And
you ignore the problem long enough, it ends up just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he just never addressed the IRS issue.
Exactly.
And then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger just because he ignored it,
And luckily, man, I mean, I fell into a sales job because I had a child at 18 years old and I needed to provide for him, and I didn't know what to do.
How did you find the sales job? Was it an ad out on, in a newspaper, or was it a friend?
So I jumped around from different jobs. Like, I worked at the Walmart distribution, and then I worked in construction with my old man. And I was just trying to provide for this kid, man. I joined the military, but I hadn't left yet. I was getting ready to go and join the Air Force. I got sworn in and everything. I had my boot camp date coming up, and I found an ad in the car, or I was looking for a car, and I found an ad for a Toyota Camry. I needed to get my little wife something dependable to drive my little kid around that had AC. We were driving around this Honda that was like, the hood was a different color. It was black. The rest of the car was blue. The seats were torn up. It had no AC.
But it moved.
Yeah, it's 110 degrees outside, and we're driving this little child around in there. I was like, man, I'm cooking him to death probably. Yeah. So I was looking for a car that had AC, man, and I found this ad that seemed like a good deal. I went to buy it. I pull up to a sales company, and the guy comes out. He's like, dude, I sold the car, but I go buy these at the auction. I want to take you down with me to the next auction. We're going next week, and we'll get you a Camry. And I was just kind of like, wow, all right, dude, I really appreciate that. I took him up on his offer. The whole drive down to Las Vegas to the Manheim auction, it's about 2 hours away, they were just telling me basically how great their lives were, and I needed to get into sales. They sold me on getting into sales, right? But, dude, we went to the casino after we bought our cars at the auction, and, I mean, these guys were laying down $2,000 hands, and I'm sitting there watching them lose this money like, that would be life-changing money to me right now. Yeah.
So when you have no money, you think $2,000 is going to change your life. Exactly. I mean, it's not realistic, but when you don't have money, you believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, dude, I wasn't even a week. I got home. I told my old man I was doing construction for him at the time. I'm like, I got to go try this. Sorry. I got to go try it. And first week there, man, I put up my first sell, and then it just became like,
and you became addicted.
Sales became a drug to me, man. Yeah. Like I was just like, I thought, man, maybe I could be good at this. Maybe I should, pursue this and give it my all. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing, man, but it didn't take long, and I was making, 60, 70 grand a year. I knew I couldn't do that in the military, so I ended up not going to the military. I never went to boot camp, got out of that agreement with the Air Force, and decided, I needed to stay home and provide a better life for my family. And that's where we actually met. A little bit later, you came into that same sales company, man. So let's hear your backstory up to that point.
Yeah. So I'll kind of give you a brief synopsis of my upbringing, just as Kale did. Grew up poor. There were 7 kids in the family in a 3-bedroom house. We had 1 bathroom to share. Grew up with powdered milk, and my mom had to go to what was called, I believe, the Bishop's Storehouse, just to get the free essentials, the bread, peanut butter, just kind of things like that. Just like Kel, and in order to do anything as a kid, I couldn't go to my parents and ask for money. I had to figure out a way to get the money for myself. So I would go mow lawns, or go pull weeds, or go down to the local golf course and go find golf balls and polish them up and sell them to the golfers. And I basically, if my tire popped on my bike, I had to figure out a way to get $5 to get a new tube. And that was a way for me to be able to do that without having to bug my parents, knowing that we were poor. Just at a young age, I had a feeling that this would not be my life. It wasn't okay to live like this. I didn't quite know exactly what I was going to go into, or how I was going to make a change. I graduated high school, was working landscaping, and I went over to a friend's house that had a sales job. You remember Bo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can't forget that ugly orange car you drove, right?
Yeah,
Was it orange or copper? What color was it?
It was like an orange copper neon, Dodge Neon.
It was
that
dope,
had the rims and the exhaust and the spoiler. It was ugly. But anyways, I mean, back then it was cool.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Looking back now,
took the muffler off.
Yeah, it was ugly. So I went over to his house just to play pool and hang out and drink a couple beers. But we were only 19. I obviously shouldn't be drinking beers at that age. But we were young and dumb and just kind of doing whatever we wanted to do. But so he got into telling me what he was doing, and he found a job in sales where he was making $1,000 to $2,000 a week, and I basically said that's bullshit. There's no possible way that you make that type of money, because in landscaping, I mean, after taxes, I was seeing like $300 a week, like $1,200 a month, and that was hard work. I was getting up at 4 a.m. to drive an hour to a job when they would build a motel in a small town like Beaver, for instance. That's a place in Utah, for anybody that doesn't know. And it was crazy. I was waking up at 4 a.m., getting paid like $300-$400 a week, working my ass off. And I go visit my buddy, and he's telling me that he's working inside in air conditioning, making $1,000 to $2,000 a week. And I figured, what the hell? What do I have to lose? I can always go back to landscaping. That'll always be there. Anybody could be a grunt worker, right? And that's all I was at that point. I just didn't have enough skill to really do anything else. So I gave it a shot, and again, that's where me and Kale met. He found his way to that company different than I did, and we at 19. I started when I was 19. I think you started at 18, or were you 19 as well?
I was probably about 19, and I maybe was there just like
a year or so
before you or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that was crazy times. Walking in into an environment where there was about 60 salespeople, people pulling up in Hummers, Escalades.
Remember the Dodge Viper?
The Viper,
that was such a Viper, cool car at the time.
So as a young 19-year-old, parking your crappy vehicle next to all these nice vehicles, it at least gave you hope that there was a lot of opportunity for money to be made in sales. And so I buckled down and gave it everything that I had, and haven't really looked back since. Sales has kind of been my way out, right?
Absolutely.
And being a business owner is no different. All you're doing is really selling your services and products on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot more to worry about.
Yeah.
The back
like
everybody else, right?
Yeah,
From clients to employees to...
As a salesperson, you just worry about yourself and your commissions, and that's it. And who cares about anything else?
Absolutely. But it is the same. It's like, what I really liked about that company is, man, it was competitive, and everyone showed up and wanted to outdo each other. And everybody wanted to,
which
win.
Makes you perform at your peak.
And I think that environment is what changed a lot of guys, and
isn't it
for
weird?
The future,
out of that 60 people that I talked about when I walked onto that sales floor, I mean, how many of those guys ended up owning businesses?
Yeah, man, I could probably think of a lot.
A lot of them ended up.
Little weird.
I mean, I would say there's at least 15 guys that kind of ended up breaking off.
That we still know to this day.
I mean, there's obviously been some people to pass away since then. Due to bad decisions, and in the sales game, that's another issue that a lot of people face, is just coming up as a youngster, finding that amount of money, you can make a large amount of mistakes in terms of, partying and getting distracted, and it's all new to you. So there's definitely a lot of learning opportunities when you first start making money. You'll probably lose a lot of it or blow a lot of it. But that's part of the process. Yeah. You got to live, and you live and learn.
Yeah. I luckily didn't go down that road, but I had a kid, man. I had a kid to take care of. I missed a lot of the after parties.
I didn't. I was there.
I did make it to a couple of them, and man, jeez, the guys would get wild when there's that much money, flying around. But.
Yeah, and everybody's cocky with an
Yeah.
ego.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to throw around the most money, and
It's true.
which made for some wild times. Definitely it's calmed down a lot in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
It's not like it used to be in terms of.
It's true though, man. There's a lot of guys that have built some great companies with the base that they learned at that company, and that company's no longer around. But like, I mean, the Gardner brothers own Bucked Up, man, and they're doing just.
I don't know how much they're doing. I see them all the time
tens of millions of dollars a year in sales,
Instagram,
right? We're very close to breaking 8 figures in our company again. We've done it in the past. We're about to do it again, and we've other guys, man, like all the different guys that are just killing it online in the digital marketing space and
all those advertisers.
Yeah, it's crazy some of the names we're running into again, like even sponsoring and going to some of these events, man, like Frank Kern.
He was around back in the day.
Yeah, he was one of his leads was on that group, or that company. But yeah, man. Time went by at that company, and I remember this dude coming in owned an accounting firm, and he came in. He gave us all a pitch, because he knew we were all making money there, and finding out who's independent and who's got an LLC set up and who's got side hustles and businesses, and gave a great little presentation on the
structure of it.
And the structure of it. And I went and talked to him afterwards and met up with him. Ended up going to his office, and they saved me a ton of money on my taxes, because as a sales guy and a young kid on the come up, I had no idea we could take tax write-offs at all, right? But my wife at the time had a little side hustle, so we took a lot of deductions, got it structured as an LLC, and dude, that saved us some money for a couple of years, because her business didn't really make money, and so when I ended up getting recruited by him to come work for him, I fell in love with it. I became obsessed with the tax and financial side of the business, and I think I did because of my upbringing with the IRS issues in the home. That's why I was saying in the beginning, man, I think that, that is a big reason of why I'm where I'm at now with this industry is because of that upbringing. And so, but yeah, man, I became obsessed with it. We had this old guy named Brooks at our office, one of our head CPAs, and I spent more time in his office than I did out on the sales side with all the other sales dudes, because I was just thirsty for that knowledge, right? Of why, businesses should structure, and when's the right time to go to an S corp, or when's the right time to go to a C corp, and when's I just fell in love with it, became obsessed with it, and so years went by there, and that's actually, I think, what gave me the confidence to become a business owner, because I always had that fear, dude, I don't want to be a business owner and deal with IRS issues. Learning everything I learned at that accounting firm
got you over that.
As a sales guy, got me over that.
Yeah.
It helped me think, dude, my dad was just unorganized. He's a horrible businessman. He's a hard worker, but he's a horrible businessman.
Yeah. There's a big difference between those two.
There is. Yeah. And so when I figured that out, and then all the knowledge I gained there, man, starting that first company, the Forex company, man. Oh, dude.
Tell us. I mean, that's a pretty cool story. People need to kind of know that.
Yeah, Jeremy came to me, and he's just was so annoying.
Jeremy's our other business partner. So
he was annoying, man. He come to me seriously, he was relentless. I don't know why he didn't sell like that once we started the business, right? I mean, we say he's fulfillment, we're sales, but dude, he was relentless, making me look at this Forex program that he created. And I was like, dude, I'm just not into that trading stuff, man. Stock trading, Forex trading, it's never interested me at all.
You were working at a tax company as a sales rep, making how much a year?
Probably 130 to 50 a year, and I was there for a few years.
So Jeremy knew that you were now making money because you were friends with his little brother.
I got him a job there. I got Jeremy a job there, too.
Okay.
So I got Caleb a job there, his little brother.
Yeah.
One of my best friends growing up. He was doing good.
Yeah.
I trained him. He built his own team. I built my own team. We had sales guys underneath us.
Okay, so you actually got Jeremy to work there.
Yeah.
And so you got closer to Jeremy. As you got closer to Jeremy, he kept bugging you about this business idea.
Right. And he just kept saying, you got to check out this Forex stuff. He wanted me to give him money to trade it. And I was like, give me my money. I work hard for my money, dude.
Yeah.
Go blow it in some market that I know nothing about, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, just come over and meet with me and my dad. And finally one day, because I grew up with the family, I knew him.
Yeah.
I went over there, just hang out and check out their program. And dude, a light bulb just went off in my head. I was like, dude, if you can teach this and you wrote a course. Why don't I sell it and you teach it, man? Like, I'll just get on the phone and sell it. I know guys in the industry, like, with leads and this and that. So why don't I just put together some leads? So, like, literally, I'd come home after work. I'd call a list of leads up and, see if they wanted to make money in the Forex. And they'd be like, what's Forex? Because it was so new. And then I'd flip them and get them sold. And then Jeremy would coach them for the next month or two, depending on whatever the investment levels. We put together packages. He wrote the course. I mean, all this just came together. JD came to work there, still here with us to this day, man. We were literally in the basement of my home, just after hours figuring out this sell. And it turned into something pretty cool, man. We started getting sales every week. Jeremy was coaching them, and then he ended up hiring another guy and training him in the Forex to coach. And dude, our clients were making money. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Well,
higher success rates than I'd heard in the whole coaching industry, right?
Mentoring, yeah.
And so it turned out to be really cool, man. And then I went to my boss at the time at the accounting company, and I was like, dude, and I was committed to that accounting company. I had no intentions of leaving.
Well, if you're making $150,000 a year, I mean, that's a pretty good income.
Exactly. I didn't want to give that up, right? Yeah. But I also loved what I did too. So I'm sitting there telling him about it. And he's like, dude, so you're doing like a side hustle? And I'm like, yeah, man. And I was like, honestly, like I could probably refer a lot of them over to you for tax services because dude, a lot of them are making money.
Yeah.
And he's like, I saw his wheels turning. Not even a week went by. He pulled me in his office and he fired me. And dude, I cried because my sales guys in there, the accountants, like they were like my brothers, right?
Yeah.
And I was so sad. I didn't know what to do, but obviously, and he told me when he fired me, he's like, dude, you'll probably thank me one day if you've got something going and it's working. I'm kicking you off the fence. But in my mind, I had no intentions of leaving, dude. I looked at it as a way to go and make an extra whatever, $100,000 a year
just see
after
what happens,
hours,
basically.
Right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, it forced me though to go sit there with Jeremy every day. And
so you regrouped. You went back to the basement of your house.
Dude, Jeremy was driving a moped at the time. He quit before I got fired. He had quit because he didn't like working there. He didn't like the department he was in. He wasn't in the sales department with me. But he quit. He was driving his moped to my house every day, and because we set up like rooms in my basement as like our offices, and he would be there working all day, like coaching clients. So this just forced me to go join him in the basement and work there all day every day. And it didn't take us long, man. We signed our first lease within like a few months. We hired more sales guys, hired more coaches. We just grew it. And after about a year and a half of doing that, I was like, man, why don't we start our own tax company, dude? I know it in and out. I love it. And let's partner with some accountants. Like that old guy that I spent all the time in his office, he wanted to quit and kind of come over and work for us anyway. Brooksy did. So it was kind of like just the perfect storm. Like, let's start our own tax company, man. So, and that didn't take long to grow either because we already had
the contacts.
Yeah, we already had the contacts, the resources. We knew how to onboard customers. We just needed to put together some really good accounting systems, which we knew accountants could do. So, we teamed up with some accountants, and the rest is history as far as that goes. But yeah, that's how we got into it. That's kind of, I guess, the short version of it. So
started in the basement. Now you're here.
Yeah. Yeah. But dude, I mean, like when you guys came over, and started selling on the Forex stuff, right? You remember that? We were doing internet mentoring at that time and Forex.
I never did any Forex sales.
Yeah, but you were on the internet team.
Side.
Robert brought you guys over.
Yeah.
Reconnected us because we had worked together at that old company, and then years went by. You came back into the picture, and dude, I always looked at you like, man, he is so good with people and managing people. He earns their respect. He truly cares about them progressing. I just thought, man, he's a great manager. So it wasn't long after watching you manage, I was like, dude, I want to partner with this guy, on our stuff moving forward, because we had a lot of changes and hiccups happen after you were there for a couple years.
Yeah, we hit the skids for a minute.
Yeah, we did.
We did do that Instagram video about struggles, and that was, what year was that? 11?
2011-ish.
Something like that.
That's when it got real rough, man. 2011 and 12.
So Kale went down obviously a little bit different of a path than I did. We worked with each other for a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
And then I went to go work at a different company, and at that company I was 20 years old, and surrounded myself with the wrong people, and that can bring up a valid point of you are who you surround yourself with. Because when I went to go work for a different company in sales, they didn't care about their people. All they cared about was just asses in the seats. They just wanted sales guys. They didn't care the quality. They just wanted people calling leads and making sales. And because of that, there was a situation with a group of sales guys where they were drug addicts, and I got presented, the opportunity to use drugs, and I made a bad choice, at a young age, young and naive, and went down a path of drug addiction for 4 years or so, from the time I was 20 to 24. And then once I got clean, I wanted to get back into sales. I knew it, I loved it, and there was opportunity there to come up quick, right? And so I got back into the sales game, and that led me to a company out of Salt Lake. I worked up there for about 10 months. Then Kale partnered with the guy that I worked with, Robert, in Salt Lake. So I moved back down to St. George, Utah, to work on Kale's sales floor. And that's where me and Kale, kind of, there was a 4 or 5 year gap there where we didn't really talk to each other or see each other at all. And, from there, some things happened. That partnership kind of went south. I ended up staying with Kale and Jeremy. We tried a couple other different business models, found one that worked, hit the skids about 2011. There was some issues with one of the companies where, there was zero money left in the bank account. I think Jeremy took $5,000 out of his personal account to cover payroll right around Christmas time. And, the company was in $65,000 in credit card debt. There was 15 employees. I was managing these employees, and it's hard to look people in the face and tell them that they won't have a job, on Monday or whatever it may be. So me, Cal, and Jeremy, we talked. A previous partner was exited out of that company. We regrouped, set up a new entity. I invested into that business. In the first year that I invested into that business, we paid off the $65,000 in credit card debt. We put $100,000 back into the business bank account. We filled merchant account reserves, and we each made about $100,000 that year. So it was quite the turnaround. Yeah. The previous year, the company had lost $200,000. And so, that's something that I take a lot of pride in. As long as you're managing people and treating them well and you have good systems and processes, it'll work. The disconnect was there was 2 different companies under the same entity. One was in Salt Lake, one was in St. George, and they were both being ran differently, right? The money was bleeding up in Salt Lake, and we were making money in St. George. And so once we cut the head off of the losing side of the business, the Salt Lake office, and we just doubled down on the people that we had here that we were able to be in front of and manage every day, that's when things kind of started turning around. And then from there, we've slowly just continued to grow. Yeah.
Well, it was kind of a perfect storm there for a second, because that's right when we were separating with that previous partner. He was kind of bleeding things. There was also partners still on my tax company that were exiting and wanting to go do their own thing. Yeah. And so it was kind of like, man, I mean, Trevor's just such a great partner. Like, why not bring him in? And because all those sales guys and accountants wanted to come work for me. Yeah. They didn't want to go work for, Adam and Zach. Yeah. And they didn't want to go work for my old partners because they're enjoyable to work for, man.
They're not people.
They just weren't. I mean? And then Zach was creating a competing company anyway, so it was like, screw it, man. Let's build this tax company and let's do it right. Let's do it better than before. And it was a pretty good tax company, but I was like, let's do it before. You can still go look up reviews online on it. Yeah. And we still got a good A+ rating on BBB. Yeah. We still have good reviews. Yeah. And it was a great company, but the partnership just wasn't a good partnership. And so it just made sense, man. You were doing such a good job with our company. It was like, man, I'm going to bring you in a partner on this too. So here we are, man. And we've got several other companies.
Yeah, several other businesses and investments, and that's one point I want to make real quick is, we've done a great job of saving money, and because of the hard times that we went through, where there was no money in the bank and 65 grand in debt, some of those are just learning opportunities, right? And we definitely took the lesson out of that scenario as we've moved forward over the last 8 or 9 years. We do a great job of keeping a large amount of money in our business bank accounts to make sure that our businesses are stable. Not only that, we've done a good job of, putting ourselves last in terms of, taking money from those businesses and investing into new businesses, letting our money start working for us, letting our money make us money rather than us having to be on the front lines every single day and make money. So there's only so many hours in a day. There's 24 hours for me, there's 24 hours for Kale and everybody else. You can only work so much. And so eventually, if you want to become financially independent or have some sort of freedom financially, you're going to have to make some sacrifices, save some money, and let that money start going to work for you, right? Like you're only one human being, so you're not going to be able to do too much, but you can diversify and let your money start making you more money, and at that point, start becoming a little bit more financially free or financially independent. I mean, just last year alone, we invested over $500,000 into 3 different business ventures.
Right.
That's a lot of money that we could have ultimately took and bought a Bentley or an Aston Martin or some, a mansion on a hill somewhere. Which I believe at one point we'll have all that if that's, each partner's desire. Everybody obviously wants to do different stuff with their own money, but the idea is to make the sacrifices today so that you can do whatever the hell you want tomorrow. And I think a lot of people do a horrible job. Once they see 6 figures, they think that they've made it.
Comfort.
And they start living a 6-figure lifestyle. That's why you see people with the nice cars, the big trucks or the boats or the nice houses.
Disneyland trip once a year.
Yeah, those people, just so that you guys know, are also living paycheck to paycheck. They're broke as well, just on a whole different scale.
Yeah, and we've been those guys.
It's just a bigger scale.
We've been those guys.
Yeah.
We've learned from it. We want to grow from it. We've had our ups and downs and our trials in order to learn from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, sacrifice is huge, and that's even what I've been teaching my kids. I'm like, man, I got kids that are like, oh, I want to be D1 baseball player. Then you got
pay the price today.
I was like, you're 12, dude. You
Yeah.
got to start making sacrifices right now because there's other kids that are doing that.
Yeah.
They're not hanging out with their buddies. They're out on the back hitting off the tee. They're out, doing their sprints. They're out, throwing the ball above and beyond just going to practice 2 times, 3 times a week. They're doing the extra work now. They're making that sacrifice. And so it's anything, whether you're an athlete or a business owner, you need to learn real quick that you have to sacrifice to get to the next level. Every time you hire an employee, you are sacrificing money that you could probably be taking to invest into someone else to help you get to the next level. And every time we make these investments, man, we want to create more stability for not only us in the business, but our employees here. And we want to define things and make things better for our customers. Like, we're constantly sacrificing by reinvesting into our systems, our people, and also our investments into our future. And so that's a huge point. I'm glad you brought that up. Sacrifice is a big deal.
Either you're sacrificing today for a better tomorrow, or you try to live for right now and you'll sacrifice tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Either way, you're going to make a sacrifice, whether it's you're sacrificing the fact of your freedom in the future because you're making horrible right now decisions, or whether you just make great decisions and sacrifice today so that you can have the financial stability that you want, down the road. So, and again, guys, the entire point of the podcast and our Instagram account at Real Business Owners is purely to bring you guys value. I've answered every single comment that we've ever had. I've answered every direct message we've ever had. I've got, a lot of inspiring direct messages in return that help kind of, give me and you and us the energy to keep moving forward with this account and with this podcast. And when we see it making an actual impact, it definitely helps motivate and energize us as business owners to continue to do everything that we can to bring value to you. So our goal is to be relevant, be real, and be raw.
Right.
Yeah. Just like Sean Whalen, says all the time. We were at an event in Dallas, and that's what he said. He said the world's starving for truth, right? All of these Instagram accounts are about boats, planes, trains, big booties, beaches, all of this stuff, right? And money and Lamborghinis and watches and that's not really what entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship is about sacrifice. Those things can happen eventually, maybe after 10 or 20 years of sacrifice. Yeah. But that's just a byproduct of the sacrifice and the struggles and the discipline that you have to get the results that you ultimately want as a business owner. So just be careful about, rewarding yourself too soon in the process. Be smart about saving money. In any business, you will have your ups and downs. And so make sure when it's up, you're preparing for the downs, and make sure when it's down, you don't get too down, because an up will come again.
I honestly love the struggle, man. I've learned, because I've gotten comfortable several times in my journey. I've gotten comfortable. Man, I'm making six figures. Man, I'm making, half a mil.
400, 500 grand. And you're like, this is good.
And I've gotten comfortable, and I've watched it slip. I mean, just like our downtimes in 2011, 12, I firmly believe if I went back and got uncomfortable,
you took your foot off the pedal.
I'd be further ahead right now, but I didn't have that. You
hadn't learned that lesson yet, though.
Yeah, just hadn't, dude.
And so I think that actually will serve you and us very well.
It has
for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Yeah. Something that hurts that bad stays with you. You don't forget stuff like that.
I've learned that it's actually funner and to stay hungry and stay out of that comfort zone. So I like when I can take this money and put it over here and just keep it and be comfortable, or I could invest it and put it back into the company. We make these decisions all the time as every quarter comes, like, hey, what do we want to take and what do we want to reinvest? And I like reinvesting and staying hungry, instead of getting in that comfort zone. And so I'll bet a lot of the guys we bring in to interview, man, they're, a lot of them are going to have these same type of lessons. Obviously, they're going to have their different journeys and their different learning experiences, but, sacrifice and getting uncomfortable and staying uncomfortable is what you need to do to level up.
So before I became a partner, did you learn more when you were doing $10 million a year in revenue with the previous tax company, or did you learn more through that struggle period?
I learned it through the struggle, man. You were already a partner when I left to go sell solar door to door. Yeah. Right? And 6 years ago, whenever that was,
people don't see that though. No. They see the building and the office and I was the stuff that we have now.
Yeah, and I had a moment down there when I was and I was pretty good at it actually. I was only down there for half a year?
Yeah, 6 months.
Back and forth. I was traveling down there, and it really didn't work out. I was actually spending just as much as I was making
to live down there.
It was actually a really good thing because one. I was just in this mode where I was like, I got to do something to get back to where I was. I was chasing where I was, right? Yeah. And I was like, maybe I need to make a whole new change. Maybe I need to get into the solar industry, which I'm glad I didn't. But at the end of the day, man, I had a moment down there when I was like, dude, if I was working this hard, because I was getting up, pounding doors every morning, and then middle of the day is always kind of dead in that door game, right? So you're like, what should I do? So then you're kind of just whatever, learning your stuff or hanging out with guys, and you're away from your family. And dude, it sucked, man. After a little while, it's like, man, I'm away from my family. I'm wasting all this time in the middle of the day. Then I'm pounding the doors at night until they tell you to freaking quit knocking. The customers, they get mad at you when it gets a little dark or whatever. But I just had this moment where I was like, man, if I was working this hard on my business, which we still had operating, right? But it was kind of fading, right? I was like, man, if I was working this hard at home
on your own shit rather than for
shit would probably turn around a lot quicker, right? Yeah. So I was really actually grateful for that experience when I look back on it, but it was a weird grind, dude. It was like a really weird, funky moment in my life where I just had that realization, dude, I'm actually really wasting time right now. I should be working this hard at home, right? So yeah, that was just one of those struggles, man.
That was the post that I made today on Instagram, is growing through struggles instead of just going through struggles. Yeah. I think a lot of people miss the opportunity to learn as they go through those things. And it's very difficult. It's not like as we were going through struggles, you're like, oh, great, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I get to learn a lot. You know, but when you do pop out the other side and you get to keep those lessons and things are going good again, then you can really look back and see the value that struggle brought you. And
Absolutely.
so, guys, that's our goal, is to let you know some of the things that we've gone through, some of the things that we're currently doing, bringing on people who have gone through struggles, who have started small businesses just like you guys, and to let you guys know that you're not alone. Some of the stuff that you're going through, if you're questioning yourself, saying, is this going to be worth it? You know, why am I doing what I'm doing? I mean, let's be real. You've questioned it, right? I've questioned it. You'll question, like, am I on the right path? Are we doing things right? Are we there? All these questions as you leave every single day, when you're shutting the doors and locking up and turning the lights off as a small business, you're wondering when the big break's going to happen.
Right.
You know, and the only thing that I would suggest or recommend is continue to put your head down and show up every single day. You know, if you're trying to build muscle, it's not going to happen overnight, even though you'd like it to. You know, it's just over consistency over a long period of time, and you'll start seeing those changes in your physique or your body, and you'll start seeing changes in your business.
Right.
As long as you give it the consistent effort every single day, even the days that you have a headache, even the days that you don't feel that well. Just still show up and do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, and good things will happen to you. Again, not overnight. Probably is going to take 3 to 5 years for really good shit to happen and for you to really see the momentum. But once you start getting that momentum, as we're seeing with our businesses and with Easier Accounting now, is as you grow, the growth continues to grow at a more rapid pace. Right? And so it's just getting it to that point and getting past the struggle period, the first 3 years or 4 years, so that you could start building that momentum and then kind of growing from there. So
I mean, you still do. You got to eat, man. You got to support your families. You got to do these things. So you do got to pay yourself, but there's a lot of smart sacrifices people could be making.
Yep.
And hopefully we can bring that value through us and through our guests. I mean, something to add onto what you're saying, man, is the last couple of years when we've been working on ourselves, because we've all been doing a lot better job at that. We're listening to guys on podcasts that are at the levels we want to be at, and they're bringing their guests in. And I'm a firm believer that you learn a lot through other people's experiences, you know, if you're smart anyway.
What are we doing right now? We're mirroring other people that we see at a higher level than us, that are doing things much bigger than us. We know that they have a podcast, and, you know, they brought value to us. We think that we can bring value to people as well, right? You learn from two ways.
And we already are. I mean, dude, we've seen so much magical things happen within our company. We've changed employees' lives. We've changed clients' lives. And then we've had our lives changed by guys that have mentored us. And so we want to bring that same mentor. And, dude, there really is something special about at-real business owners. Just in the little bit of time,
the last 2 months,
you've done most of the work. and dude, it's magical, man, seeing these guys that are taking your advice and then they're messaging back like, saying, dude, that already made a difference in my business. Like, dude, it's magical.
Stuff
what's
that they
going
can
on.
Implement immediately.
I have no doubt it's going to continue to be magical. Same with the podcast. I know we're going to bring great business owners, and we know so many that are going to bring value. So
guys, you learn two ways. You learn from either your mistake or other people's mistake. Our goal and our job is to, you know, reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose. We've already lost a lot of money. We've already made a lot of mistakes, and we hope to share that information with you so that we can kind of shortcut that process, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that we've made. You don't have to lose the amount of money that we've lost in order to gain the knowledge that we have now. Right. So we're going to kind of try to expedite that for you as a small business owner, maybe turn what normally would take 3 to 4 years to get momentum in maybe to 1 or 2 years to get the momentum that they need to start seeing success. So, guys, we appreciate the support that we've received so far in the short 2 months that we've had the Real Business Owners Instagram. And, you know, we hope to continue to be relevant, be real, be raw, and bring you guys the content that will bring you guys value.
Yeah, I'm excited for this journey. Stay tuned and, you know, sacrifice and kick ass.